Hello guys, welcome to another video. It's me Riyadh, an English teacher. This is another online lesson devoted to fourth year students. Urban Exodus is the fourth lesson in the last module entitled Life Issues. You can find the links to the previous lessons in the description box below. If you are interested and you want to find out more, please continue watching this video. Before getting started, let's see what this lesson's objectives are. By the end of the lesson, the students will be able to express their preferences about living in the city or in the countryside by watching a video to guess what the lesson is about, watching a set of videos to elicit ideas about life in the city and life in the countryside. The words or expressions the students are meant to acquire in this lesson are to prefer, would prefer to, would rather, urban, exodus, urbanization, rural, in favor of, a split opinion, a big metropolis, a homestead, to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, off the grid, and sustainable. If you want to be notified whenever I upload a new video, you can follow me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And don't forget to share this video and to send it to as many of your friends as possible so that they can make the most of it. Right, let's get started with this video to guess what we will be talking about. As you can see, it's clear that we're going to be talking about life in the city versus life in the countryside. Today's lesson is entitled Urban Exodus. Urban is an adjective, meaning of cities, and the noun is urbanization. The antonym is rural, which means of the countryside. So when we say urban life, it means life in the city. And when we say rural life, it means life in the countryside. As for the word exodus, it means the movement of a lot of people from one place to another at the same time. The two words combined, urban exodus, means the movement of people from the city to live in another place, which is the countryside. Today's lesson has always been a topic for debates, and people are split on it. People always get hesitant or reluctant when they have to decide. Some are in favor of living in a big metropolis or a large city, while others opt for life in the countryside or living on homesteads. Some people say rural life is real life, while others say that urban life is carbon life. To be able to express our preferences, we need to learn these verbs and expressions. We will first read the following sentences and extract the structure of each verb. The first preference verb is to prefer. I can say, for example, I prefer living in the city to living in the countryside, or simply I can say I prefer the city to the countryside. The structure of this verb is prefer plus verb plus ing or noun to plus verb plus ing or noun. The second example, I can say, I would prefer to live in the city rather than live in the countryside. So the structure here is would prefer to plus base form verb rather than plus base form verb. The third expression is, I would rather travel with the group than travel alone. And the structure is, would rather plus base form verb than plus base form verb. When you think of the perfect place to live, is it in the city or the country? Both have their ups and downs, pros and cons, or advantages and disadvantages. I keep telling myself that someday I want to move away to a little farm in the countryside where I can meditate, grow my own food, or just get away from all the hustle and bustle of the city. But after giving it some thought, the city might also be the ideal place to live. To help you choose whether to live in the city or the countryside, you're going to watch these two people representing two different generations. The young man is in favor of living in the city, whereas the old man is in favor of living on a homestead. Watch the video and write down the most important factors when deciding between a big metropolis and a countryside.
People who live in the city often lead healthier lives. Most of the daily essentials that you need are within walking distance. There's also tons of trains and buses all around you, so you aren't spending that much money on gas.
Sustainable on your own living. A lot of people move to a homestead to live off the grid. In the city, you can't get away from being dependent on the system, the infrastructure. On the homestead in the country, you get to be self-sufficient. You get to use basic carpentry, plumbing, basic electrical, and your mechanical skills. Being able to provide for your own needs. Are you ready to live sustainable?
Riding public transportation can also be kind of peaceful. You take a seat next to a window, you pop in your headphones, and you just unwind.
Peace and quiet on the homestead. Living in the country on a homestead is peace and quiet that's not available in the city. The crowds, the noise, and the traffic in the city are crazy, if you ask me. And I was born in a great big city and spent time there. So I do know city life. The downside, more and more, we don't even like going to town grocery shopping anymore. We would rather stay home where it's peace and quiet.
The city has access to all kinds of people. It's a lot easier to find someone just like you to connect with here because you have so many resources. The city holds tons of little pockets of people. Whether you're a yoga instructor, a coin collector, or a waitress/actress, chances are you'll find someone just like you.
The freedom to do your own thing when and where you want to do it. In the country, you have the freedom of very few regulations and ordinances. Pets, chickens, goats, any other critters, no problem. You want to mow your grass at 7 a.m.? Hey, go for it. You like to sit on the back porch in the morning and drink your coffee, sans robe. Be my guest. No neighbors to be any complaining. Do what you want to do when and where you want to do it.
The city holds tons of culture to observe. Cities are meant to keep everything within close range. So for example, if you're gonna have a baby, chances are there's a hospital not too far from you. If you enjoy museums, foreign restaurants, or local art, chances are you could find that for free in the city just by taking a train or two.
Living closer to nature, to the natural things that are all around us. When you live in the When you live in the country, you're closer to nature. Maybe you walk through the woods, the old saying, stop and smell the flowers. You won't be doing that in a big city. What flowers? What woods? Nature is a great teacher. Hey, sometimes she gives you the exam first and the lesson after. But we wouldn't want it any other way. Would you?
The city makes you strong like a bull. Being around lots of people all the time really helps you build a tolerance for what other people do. Someone cuts you in line while you're getting a hot dog, you give them a piece of your mind. But if a bunch of loud teenagers start talking loud and blasting music, forget about it. In the city, you learn to not care at all or care too much to the point where you're tough enough to speak out about it.
Life in the country is safer. You don't have to lock the doors on your house when you're inside at home. Crazy talk, I know. The kids, they can ride their bikes and run around and play outside on their own. Imagine that, letting your kids go outside unsupervised. Oh, the shame. Would you feel safe doing this in a big city?
The city makes life so much more convenient. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're hungry, you can probably head down to the corner deli and pick yourself up a sandwich. Plus, with the advent of Seamless and Grubhub, you probably never have to leave your block at all. Block kid's afraid to leave his block! Everything accessible at all times. Seems like the perfect life, right?
Have an awesome garden and grow your own healthy food. If you want to eat healthy food and really know that you're eating healthy food, living in the country on a homestead is the way to go. Store-bought veggies are no match for fresh from the garden veggies. When you grow them yourself, you know that they're healthy.
As you can see, they have split opinions on this subject. They have both talked about the pros of living in the city and the countrysides. You can say that living in the city exposes you to a plethora of convenient and comfortable living conditions, whereas living in a rural setting exposes you to so many marvelous things, such as the natural world, the particular texture of small town life, and the exhilarating experience of open space. As for me, I'm going to be talking about the cons or the disadvantages of each one of them. Let's chat about a few reasons why moving to the city is not right for you. Number one, high cost of living. The higher cost of living is the first disadvantage. Everyday living expenses such as rent and utilities tend to be higher in big cities. And you may have additional living expenses that you wouldn't have in the countryside. Number two, noise. In general, the noise level in major cities is higher than in the countryside. Cities have more people and more traffic that contribute to the noise, as well as trains and nearby airports with loud planes flying in and out. So you will be living in the hustle and bustle of the city. Number three, lack of space. Moving from the countryside to the city almost always involves downsizing your living space. Most people in major cities live in apartments which can be very small. If you want to move to the city, you must accept that you will be living in an apartment with neighbors on the other side of your walls. Owning a large house will cost you an arm and a leg. Number four, pollution. Unfortunately, pollution may also be a problem in the big city, especially for those who have health problems like asthma. The health effects of air pollution are serious, and according to the World Health Organization, 1/3 of deaths from smoke, lung cancer, and heart disease are due to air pollution, which is hard to escape no matter how rich an area you live in. It's all around us actually. Number five, crime. There is always more crime in a big city, and you are much more likely to be a victim of a crime living in a big city than in a small town. We always hear about rape, theft, and robbery, and this is the price of living in the city. How about living in the countryside? What are the cons or the disadvantages of living there? These are some of the reasons why life might not be good for you. Number one, fewer job opportunities. Employment opportunities are much scarcer in rural areas than in cities. So it may be difficult to find a suitable job or follow your chosen career path in the countryside. Plus, you don't expect to be paid that much because wages are usually low as compared to the ones in the city. Number two, fewer educational opportunities. A small town doesn't have much to offer in terms of educational opportunities options and has only one school and no institutions of higher education. Number three, fewer entertainment options. The quiet life in the countryside may prove rather dull as compared to the life of the city. You may miss the vibrancy and diversity of the big city, the exciting and spectacular cultural events. You may not be able to enjoy some of your favorite activities as there may not be an adequately equipped place where to practice your hobby or a group of people who share your interests. Number 4, limited services and conveniences. Public transport may be very limited or may not exist at all. You can't do without a car or a sturdy vehicle when living in a rural area. You will have to drive a lot, and the internet connection, for example, may not be that reliable, and there may not even be mobile coverage in certain areas. Number 5, isolation. When you move to the country, you will live far away from everything and everyone. Your social life will be almost non-existent, and you may feel quite lonely. No friends to visit you and for you to visit them, and no social events to attend. You may be trapped in your home for weeks due to blocked roads, adverse weather conditions. That's all for me, guys. We've come to the end of this lesson, and these are its keynotes and the summary of both videos, which might help you answer the following question. Which do you prefer? Living in the city with things close versus living in the countryside and drive all the way to town when you need or want something? Which do you prefer? Being far away from all the city's modern day conveniences, or pursuing your self-sufficient life dreams, living happily, fun-loving, and living carefree? Live life doing it yourself. Share your ideas in the comments. If you've enjoyed this lesson, please share it with your friends and send it to as many of your friends as possible so that they can make the most of it. Thank you so much. Love and peace, Riyadh.